Okay, guys, let's get into today's recap of today's session. Just kind of resetting what we had today on the session. We had this. This is what we traded in. We traded in this where our candle sizes were monstrous. Our candle sizes were 10 pips. If you kind of widen out the view, you still kind of are in this channel that it was forming all day. We woke up, or excuse me, didn't wake up, but I personally started the session after this huge move. Didn't catch any of it. So kind of started right in here was where we started. And then the market, it was definitely moving higher and kind of trending the uptrend. Just looking back at a recap, anybody would like to share what they learned, any aha moments at all before I kind of do a quick recap.
One of the things that I did that I learned is I waited about 4 or 5 minutes after the news broke and thought that I would get into the aftermath and do a retracement, and it didn't. and so that's where I lost my $200. And then I discovered that that was one thing I learned is that you don't always get a retracement on a news. And then the other thing I learned was trade small in an unfamiliar market.
So that was the key right there. Doug, you were going to say something before I kind of
27. I got more than halfway.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I was waiting for the big turn of the day because it's moved like 250 pips.
Yeah,
it's 7 o'clock now. So I was playing the Sean move and waiting for the big roll down, and it kind of came, but not quite. So I got up to 27.
Anybody else? Kind of key takeaways from the session today.
I tried to do the fib after the market stopped.
Tried to fib this right here.
Yeah. And then it started moving again. And so I'm up 91 pips and down 250.
So let's just kind of talk about that for a second. I don't know if you were here, Cliff, but the question was earlier on in the trading session, when would you start the fib? And I said, if it crosses this, then that's when I would start to fib that, because that's like the first layer of that fib. And so could this move still come into play on a fib? Absolutely. Right. But now you're looking at it from a different time frame. So if we zoom out to, let's just go 30 on this move. Right here, you would look to fib this, but that doesn't come into play until you get kind of this crossover on the 30. Does that make sense? So you could still fib it on larger time frames, but again, kind of like if you didn't, I would go back and watch that video that I talked about yesterday, because I did go over Fibonacci's. Like, I wouldn't use that as my only indicator or my only decision. I use that a lot where, I call it fib, but truthfully, 50%, I use the 50% rule quite often, right? And even though the 50% really isn't fib, I still call it that. But like this move, it should move. The market should try to push it down. Like this entire move is, like Doug said, over 200 pips. Could see it coming back to here. And isn't it that just interesting that 50% is kind of right there on that support line, or right here on that support line, 100. And so you could still see that, but I would wait for confirmation into that move before I started trading that move. So, but Josh, what was your kind of takeaway?
So mine was a little bit right off of Clifford's. I wanted to fib the thing at first and kind of started to set up for it, but it shot back up, and I didn't wait for your point that you were talking about. But I immediately got out of them to manage the losses. And then none of the typical trading worked today. It was literally, I think what you pinpointed, it was literally you're trading candle by candle behavior. So today was very different than normal.
Sure.
We had to really good price action knowledge today.
And because it was different than normal, you needed to adjust the way you trade. And if you're not used to trading this market, you shouldn't trade in a live account. Personally, that's just my personal thought. If you're in a market condition that you're not used to, turn it into a practice opportunity. Not an opportunity where you need to sit and stress, right? Going back to my trading session, I don't know if anybody noticed this, but I was calling the same, or I was looking at it through the same lens that a lot of you guys were, meaning I was looking at it from, hey, that move, we're going to see if we can't get a retracement of that move, right? I wasn't necessarily looking for the fib until it gave me confirmation of the retracement, but I felt like, hey, it shot up. And normal, not necessarily normal, but what I'm used to is where it kind of tries to pull back at least a little bit of that monstrous move. And so I came in thinking, and I'm just gonna buy here real quick, because if I can get that stack to go through, then I hit that challenge. So what I was thinking right here when we were in is I kind of set it like we were trading right here. It's starting to come down. I could see that if it comes down and crosses this, I could see us getting that confirmation of that retracement. But I also said a couple times, but I could also see it coming and testing the top. And if it tests the top and breaks, I'll be a buyer. I'll be a fan of the buyers. I'm not gonna, in my mind, I'm not going to pick one side or the other. I'm going to kind of wait and see what the market does. Right. And so I was like, I think it's going to do this and come down and kind of test and do exactly what you did. But I'm also not going to place trades to that extent. Oh, did you see that? I was wrong. I was $2 away. So what do? Do you trade for the $2? So this is the point. Like earlier on, I said, if it crosses this, then I'm a buyer, right? Then I'm a buyer. And then when it started coming into this area, I said, until we start getting the lower lows, I'm still a buyer, right? And I said, it has to, right here, it has to make a lower low. I'm still a buyer, because it was easier to make money on the buys than it was on the sells. And so I flipped in and out of 3 take profit to 0 take profit. Had some technical issues that Josh helped me out with. So thank you for that. Found that my new love of Protégé, new EA that I'll definitely be using. And so I kept switching in and out because I could feel more confident getting 3 pips to take profit on a candle when our candles were huge. So what I meant by confident is like I could stack into more. If this candle's like 10 pip on a candle, I could get more trades on and kind of trade more for a 3 pip. So me being really confident that it's going to hit 3 pips, right? As opposed to waiting for the action point, because what was happening is now you see these candles and they form, but what was happening is they would go up, they'd wick down, and the wicks were wicking 3 pips up, 3 pips down. And so I was able to recycle my trades quite a bit. I don't know if you guys saw this, but at one point I was trading a little bit normal of how I trade, like right in here, thinking it was going to buy, got sells on right here. I found myself down. I think I was down between $400 to $500 in this account. I didn't cross that $500 mark, but I was trading as if it was going to pull back. Once I recognized that, hey, I'm down this much, I shouldn't be down this much, because in this account size, that was pretty large for that account size. So I was down, even though I didn't take my trades. I started recognizing that, hey, I'm a little heavy here. I shouldn't be down. I went to a 0. I went to a from a 0 to a 3 take profit. And that's when I said, I need to play the profit game. Remember that? And I said, I need to start playing the profit game. To me, the profit game is just start putting money in the bank, Because I was down, I had 0 on my losses. I hadn't taken any trades yet, but I was down, right? I was down on my unrealized target. So I'm like, I got to start putting money in the bank. So I switched over to a 3 take profit. Still had the trades that I was losing on in nursing. And I started stacking in the three, those layers, started pulling those layers in until I could get to a point where I could get that reset to 0 today. And that to me changed everything for me. Getting that reset to 0, I ended up taking a loss of like, $60, $60 to $70. I have to look back, but it felt like it was somewhere in there where it was at negative $60. And started trading the 3 pip take profit because that was there to have. And I started just stacking money into the bank over and over and over, whittling at that $60, got it all the way down to 15. Then it went back to 50, a loss, like a negative 15 loss, back to 50. And then I was just like, okay, I got to just kind of float the market a little bit until I can start getting high probability trade setups. I found those, but then that's when the technical issue happened where I wanted to get in heavier and I was only getting in like 1 or 2 trades. So that's when I flipped over to Protégé and then the rest just took off from there. I was able to capitalize on the trading of, I was able to get in heavier when I wanted to, get out, and get in, get out, get in, get out. And to me, it was really, really fun trading this, even though, I was down, had to recover. It was really, really fun to trade this because I don't tend to get to where the speed of execution on a scalping level where you got to execute, really, really quickly. To me, it's fun. To you guys who may not have that reactionary timing where you're like get in, get out, get in, get out, get in, get out, and reactionary timing, that's where you practice. This is a great session today to practice price action because you're seeing it over and over and over and over and over. And so it reinforces it. Now, the next thing you take from this session, the takeaways you take from this session is you take what you've learned at a really quick practice. It's kind of like, in my mind, if I'm going to go practice basketball and I'm shooting free throws and the only practice I ever get is in a game where I only get 1 or 2 free throws, I'm not going to be a very good free throw shooter. So what I want to do is I want to go to practice and shoot 100 of them. This market gave you 100 shots or more of those practice. So what a great practice session of price action, right? And so now on the other side, we should take what we've learned and practice it when the market does tend to slow down, and you're looking at that. So, any feedback or any thoughts to that? I'm also kind of looking at your guys' comments.
David, when I took the fib, it was when it pulled back 2 candles, and the 3 candles. And it closed below the first, it closed after the last up candle. That's when I took the fib.
So you over here?
Yeah.
So you took
on the 5. I took the fib on the 5-minute chart.
So what is your?
We're somewhere here. Yeah.
You have a question
right
that or?
No, I'm saying. Yeah, up here, I took it. Yes, that's where I took the fib. At the top of that.
At the top of this, so you got into a sell.
Right. Yeah. From there, I took the fib.
All right. I want to. And you took, and so you tried to get into sells, and so did I, right here. But the moment that this body crossed over, and I was looking more at the 1. The moment that body crossed this, I knew that it wasn't going to come down and test that anytime soon. Okay. And so I abandoned the thought of the fib, and then particularly when it crossed that, I even further abandoned it. Now I always say, and I still will maintain the thought that it will try to come back down at some point, but your confirmation is if it crosses here, we'll start getting those lower lows and lower highs. You got to get that before it starts to turn. And we haven't gotten that. So we've been in this channel, and we're still technically in this channel. So if it does not cross here, if it doesn't cross here, then it still could move up and get a higher high, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would be looking for, is we're getting higher highs and low lows. So price action, right? I want to just really, really quick talk to Lee, because you just posted lessons learned. If I left my trades on, I would have been above. Okay. I don't like that lesson, and I'm going to just, hopefully you're going to be okay with me picking on you just for a second. The market is the worst teacher in the world. If you leave your trades on and you win, you're lucky, but not skilled. If that makes sense. And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but I would rather take the power and put it in my hands than give the power to the market. So I'd rather take my losses and then look for opportunities to win, to recoup my losses, than hold on to my losses and wait for the market to give that back, because that does two things. If you're holding on to your losses, it does two things. Three things. And probably the third thing is probably the most important thing, is it messes with you psychologically. And that's probably the most important thing, is when you have losses that you're nursing and you're just waiting for the market to come back, you're stuck trading sometimes. And that's the most damaging thing in the world as a trader, when we don't have any power and we're just waiting for those losses, right? The next thing is when you start to learn that by taking your losses, but strategically taking your losses, that means that if I got to build a profit layer, going back to what I was talking about, started putting money in the bank because I knew I was going to take some losses, right? So if we go to my account history here, let's just kind of expand this. For today, you can see I'm taking losses all the time, right? And I'm continuing to take losses, but they're losses that I'm taking. Some of these losses are bigger. I'm still taking losses. But if I take a bigger loss, I'm also trying to negate those losses with bigger wins. I think I had some pretty big losses towards the first part of today's session. So I just don't want to go into. So here's the start of today right here. And yeah, so I had these bigger losses right here. Remember when I was like down $400 or $500, I turned these losses and I took those losses, but I also started taking 3 pips of profit, right in here, 3 pips of profit. I started taking those 3 pips, moving my take profit, getting out of 3 pips, just to start banking on a bunch of trades that I could negate those losses. And so that's a really, really important thing. And I just want to just point that out. Now, I don't know kind of in what spirit that you were saying, what tone you were saying I should have waited. But from a psychological standpoint, we never, ever should say I should have, could have, or should have or could have, or now I'm starting to incorporate and don't say and I never expected, right? Because 99.9% of the time that we take a loss that's kind of a heavy loss, we tend to always say, well, I didn't expect, or I didn't think, or I didn't see, right? And so we kind of need to eliminate that from our vocabulary and that from our way of thinking, and change that to be like, well, I need to prepare for, right? I need to prepare for in case the unexpected happens, because it will, and it does. And then as traders, that's when we get burned, because we're not preparing for the unexpected. And truthfully, 100% hands down, I did not think that trading was going to be as much psychology as it is. And so by eliminating our thought processes of negative words like I could have, I should have, is super, super helpful to, I can't even explain how helpful that is just by having the right mindset, right? Getting the right mindset in trading. That's why that reset to zero is so powerful. The reset to zero is super powerful because it just washes away everything, and you can look at it. You can look at the market through a different lens. Am I right in my initial assessment? Do I need to change it? All that kind of stuff, right? I hopefully that's not sarcastically that he says thank you for picking on me. I'm always I can pick on people that I know a little bit harder, and sometimes I gotta apologize for that, Dad, because sometimes I pick on you a little bit harder than most.
You're fine.
But because I know you're going to come back tomorrow.
You know, like I always say, Dave, you know, you do a good job. So I'm going to take back everything people are saying about you.
Good. Can you do that on the internet too? Just kidding. All right, guys. I think that's enough fun for today. It was a fun day. I really enjoyed the.
That's right. I'd be better when under pressure. When it's lazy, I don't do good.
So you do better in markets like this? Is that what you're saying? Or what do you mean by lazy? Explain that real quick.
Oh, whoops. I did not have audio on. I was talking to my friend.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the market.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, one of the things my old boss used to say, the one I liked really well, is I don't do good when it's in, I just don't do good during upkeep, lazy times is what we would call it. Like just day-to-day stuff. I don't do good at all because I get bored.
Yeah,
So I started making risk. I started doing stupid shit. And, but like today was super hectic. So it tied into my, I don't know, my desire.
We'll just call it ADD.
My ADD. Like at work, if we were under
it pulls your focus in. I hate trading markets where it just doesn't move, right? So I won't, because I hate doing that. Where a lot of people are just fine with taking on longer time frame trades. This is the market that if I could have this every day, I would love to have this every day. You don't. It's definitely an abnormal market. But if we could get conditions like this every single day, huzzah, right? That's awesome. But the thing that also was kind of cool that I noticed was in a market condition like this, the zero spread was actually really good for this. And I'm starting to like the zero spread and commissions. So anyways, thank you guys. We kind of went over on time, so appreciate it. And again, we're not going to do the wobble. I think I'm going to close that down. So jump over to Sean's. I don't want to compete with him. I'm going to take the night off, and I'm probably going to jump on and watch the interview with you guys. So thank you guys, and we'll see you guys in the AM.
Yeah.
Goodbye.